Okay, I'll call the Germantown School District Board of Education meeting to order. 5/19/2025, the Performing Arts Center at 7:14 p.m. Sorry for the delay, a little break in between meetings there. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance if you're able.
Official meeting.
Thank you. Dr. Reuter, official meeting notification.
Yes, public notice of all meetings has been given by communication from the superintendent's office to the public, to those news media who have requested such notices, and to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, Northwest Now, Express News, and the West Bend Daily News. Public notices have also been posted in the schools throughout the district and the Germantown School District website.
I believe Mr. Pollock's going to help us with roll call today.
Yes. Ewert.
Here.
Brown. Here. Barney is absent excused. Loth.
Here.
I am here. Higginbotham.
Here.
And Voyer. Here.
Item 2, approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Higginbotham with the motion, Mr. Brown with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Item 3, reports. A, District Administrator update. Dr. Chris Reuter.
Thank you. Just a few updates this evening. Reminders to the board and the general public on June 10th. Our 8th graders will be promoted to 9th grade. Hopefully every board member can join that presentation and ceremony. Last year was the first year we did that at the high school, field house, and it was a great success, a lot of great parent feedback, and we'll continue to do that again this year. So please let Melissa know if you can attend, and hopefully all KMS parents of 8th graders will be able to attend as well. And then graduation is June 8th, and we look forward to that ceremony as well, to send our 12th graders after 13 years of experience in the school district off to the world and experience college, college and career readiness, and we look forward to that. A lot of end-of-the-year activities are taking place at all of our buildings over the next couple weeks. I know the board has been invited to wax museum presentations and other presentations at the schools, so anything you can engage in, please, we invite you to be there and be a part of that and celebrate the end-of-the-year activities. Bigger presentation this evening, and I've put up here, is community survey, strategic planning feedback. One of the aspects that I shared previously with the board was how are we going to engage our community with some type of feedback. We did that through a survey, through Skyward to our current parents, as well as through social media and in areas of our connections through the chamber, through QR codes for community members to scan the survey and try to provide feedback. I'll share my success in this was that we had a high turnout, 480 responses. However, when you look at those responses, 92% of that response rate was from parents of our district. So as we look to future surveys, we might have to look broader than just a Google form, Google survey to provide to our community, and some type of mailer that we would put finance behind in order to engage all taxpayers and stakeholders. But it's a good baseline for us to start and to build some of our efforts. Next month I'll be coming to you with 4 to 5 strategic goals that I'd like to propose to the board to approve as we continue to plan for the future of this district and not work just day to day. So as you can see, we had 480 responses. This was open over a month period, and you can see that the majority of responses were from current parents within the school district, and that would make sense given they received that survey through Skyward, as many of you did as parents. The first question that was provided was, please indicate how much you agree or disagree with the following statements. Again, this is similar to our academic survey as well as our stakeholder employee engagement survey. We did a 4-point Likert scale, 1 being highly dissatisfied to 4 being extremely satisfied, with 2 and 3 being satisfied or dissatisfied. And you can see on the response rate here of the 480 people, over 300 people responded that they are satisfied with the district's effectively allocates its financial resources to meet the needs of students and community. Question 2, discuss the district's budgetary reflects the community's priorities for education. We're above 50% with satisfaction when it comes to those areas. Question 3, discussed the district is transparent in how it spends its budget. And I think the biggest takeaway from all these questions are, though there's a lot of work done, and we can look back at the last hour of the Finance Committee, there's a need for us from a marketing and communication standpoint to better educate the, not just parents of the district, but the entire community on how the board is fiscally responsible and how administration is following the lead of the school board, specifically the Finance Committee, but also the entire board. As all of you know, our last audit came back clear as can be. We spend out our budget. What we ask of the community, we spend it out for priorities and needs within the district, but we need to do a better job, and that's my team specifically, with the help of the board, to be transparent on educating the public on how their dollars are being spent to meet the needs, not only from student need, but also our building needs and our long-term range in planning for facilities. The next question was, the district effectively communicates its budget decisions to the community. I think, again, it's about communication and marketing. We do a great job of being one of the most transparent districts, in my opinion, in this region when it comes to our annual meeting, and even from a standpoint of counting votes and how people vote towards that spending, which doesn't happen in many other districts. But again, how do we effectively communicate that to people who are not in the general audience or watching in our live stream? And that's work we'll do in the strategic plan coming forward. The next question was about adequate funding for programs such as the arts, special education, extracurriculars, and you can see it's kind of a wide range of how the community, those who filled out the survey, agree or disagree with that statement, and how we're providing funding across all programming. And that's something, again, I truly believe, if you look at tonight's Finance Committee minutes, and Mr. Loth will talk about this in the full board meeting, those items that were approved from a financial standpoint by that committee and to the full board tonight span special education, technology, and we'll hear some things through Ms. Higginbotham tonight through teaching and learning as well, through curriculum. So it's, again, how are we communicating, how are we building awareness within the community of how you are making decisions as a board based on the recommendations that are brought forward by us as an administrative team. The next question is funding for students supports, specifically counseling, special education, and other programs to meet the needs of students. I think Mrs. Cole has done a great job in this last year of really explaining why funding that we receive either at the federal level through grants or a local level are being appropriated for students' needs when it comes to support services. But again, it's another area of communication, better education, so that our community understands how we're using the funds that are available to us to meet the needs of all students. And then the next question was related to the use of financial resources efficiently. Again, communication, and how do we make that transparent? And then the district prioritizes cost effective without compromising the quality of education. I believe the school district is very cost effective when it comes to how we utilize every taxpayer dollar, and we can always improve on that as a school district and make it more transparent to those who are paying taxes, as well as those who are in the school district with students, on how their taxpayer money is going to improve the quality of education. We'll see that through some of our strategic goals next month. We've engaged in the next question, the district spending priorities align with long-term community and student needs. I think through some of the work we're going to see in the next month through MD Roffer's report on future growth in this district, as well as the JP Cullen PRA report, helps us understand where those priority needs are going to lie long-term when it comes to spending. in order to make sure that the community needs and student needs are in place as well. So I look to this as a great baseline, like I said, at the front end of this, but it's in the future, based on the work we're doing this year, it's going to help improve communication, but also a strategic approach to how we utilize our budget moving forward. The district should prioritize future investments in areas such as infrastructure, professional development, and student programs. You can see that's a need or want from the community community members that did respond to this, and I think that's the work that we're consistently doing, so we'll continue to push in that effort moving forward. And then the last one, please indicate how much you agree or disagree with the following statement. I would support an increase in taxes or bonds to improve school facilities or programming. And this is a very general question. This does not mean referendum, but it means what is your belief at this point in time? And again, this was not the full community, majority parents, of if we needed to improve our facilities or programming through future referenda, what's your current belief system in this point in time? And like anything, we're gathering facts and data as a school district in order to make educated and approaches to future needs and wants as a school district. And I wanted this survey to go out as broad as it could so we could get some type of baseline to understand what our community is currently thinking. It does not mean we're acting on it at this point in time, but it helps us gauge, here's our baseline, like I said, and what are our future priorities as a school district, so that we're not trying to pass a referendum or trying to change programming overnight, and you see where that fails in other school districts. So any questions or thoughts from the board on this preliminary data? And I say preliminary because it is not statistically significant at this time, given the number of people that live in Germantown. But as we engage in future work around this, we would need to look at something that's more widespread, that would go to every zip code and mailing address so that we would get a more accurate sample. Mr. Lowe.
Yeah, and just to be clear, this only went out to parents, you're saying?
It went out to parents via Skyward, but it went out on social media as well as it was put up at local businesses through a QR code. The library, I know for sure, Chamber of Commerce, and a couple other local businesses where they could scan in, but it's hard to tell who scanned in or who filled it out.
So taxpayers that didn't have students could have?
Could have, and you can see in
Okay.
the first survey question, we have 92% were current parents, but then we have, the remaining 7.3% either were former parents, like yourself, or someone that had never had students in the district.
Okay.
So again, it was our first attempt, but we'd like to, in future years, make this more wide casting.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yeah, just from looking at the results, obviously my biggest concern is that the net isn't including enough of the general public. And then the other is, and I draw that same conclusion, we as a board, at the finance committee, as district administration are constantly managing at the finance side of this and managing within budget into a balanced budget for 3 years straight now. But yeah, and that's a part of the district, and we've talked about it on this communication side, is we have to get this stuff pushed out
Yeah.
better. We have to celebrate some of these successes better when we get our yearly audit and it comes back saying, you have no flags comparable to what we see in most districts surrounding you. How are you doing this?
Yeah.
Right? We need to make sure that gets out, and that's a testament to Brittany's office, your office, this board's commitment. But if we're not getting that information out, it's very easy to not understand where money's being spent, how money's being spent. I think as we go forward, we'll see a further breakdown of what does that mean? Is money being spent? Is it being spent within staff, development, curriculum, programming? We're gonna have to break all that out, as well as buildings and that, and drill into each individual conversation and take some of the subjectivity out of the questions.
For sure.
So,
Yep, it's making aware, like tonight, Mrs. Cole brought forward a $121,000 contract that $120,000 of it is related to student-specific needs to support programming, right? And I don't know that we need to do a better job of explaining that to the general public, whether you have kids in the district or not.
Any other comments?
Hey, Russ. I think when we have had building tours, and I'll say specifically after the referendum construction was complete, it's difficult to get taxpayers in the buildings for a building tour. It's really tough. But those that did come were really, really impressed with our facilities. And I don't know if any of those people were against the referendum originally, but I think if they were, after the building tour, they were impressed and they were happy that the referendum had passed. You know, so if we can get the taxpayers in, they will be pleased at what they see. But it's tough to get someone to take 4 hours out of their day or something to tour schools. It's tough.
Those are open meetings, and it's a great way to see how that money got spent. I would add too, in regards to the referendum, one that we've considerably paid off in advance, saving $6 million or so. I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but it's significant dollars to the taxpayers over the life of that referenda, and we're going to continue that commitment. Just as that's another example of certain things we need to make sure we're getting out there. I mean, that's where we're really managing this budget to a penny.
Without foregoing
Successfully.
student
Yeah.
success. And I think, Mr. Lowe, to your point, it's not just about the building tours, but work we'll be doing over the next couple of years is how do we engage the community to come into our buildings for events, right? And be a part of, here you're paying for this beautiful PAC, but what's your invitation to be a part of, whether it's a play, whether it's a concert, whatever that might be. And we need to be better with, outside of our parent groups, how do we get the general taxpayer involved in their buildings, right?
Good partnership with Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
I think we know somebody over there.
Yeah, someone got elected to do something. So,
We appreciate that.
thanks. That's all I have for updates tonight.
Okay, just wanted to run back on a couple of those things. Board, if you're going to attend any of those invites, please let Melissa know. That way, if a quorum is coming, we have to post it. Obviously, it's not a meeting, but we need to be able to post it. We need her to be able to do that. So if you plan on attending any of those invitations, please get back to her. It's important.
Thank you, Russ.
Yep. We can move on to B, Student Representative Report.
Hello, I'm Cassandra Zarder. I will be next year's Student Council President.
Welcome.
I'm just going to start with Amy Bell. So Amy Bell wrapped up April with their literacy night. They had literacy-based games for the families to play together, set up in their library. Also a part of their literacy night, they had high school volunteers present and supported international bingo for elementary students to take a part in. Their spring book fair was also part of that night. As they look towards the end of the school year, their school-wide trip to Camp Minneconne will take place May 29th, and they're looking forward to spending time together as a school community on this trip. Moving on to County Line, it has been a month full of excitement and celebration at County Line as they wrap up the school year. Their amazing PTA led the way in recognizing their dedicated bus drivers for Bus Driver Appreciation Day, and went above and beyond to spoil their staff during Teacher Appreciation Week. They're so grateful for their ongoing support and generosity. Their teachers are the heart of their schools, and they're so grateful for their support and dedication. Another highlight this month was a visit from WISN 12's Mark Baden, who gave an engaging weather presentation to their students. They were so incredibly honored to welcome Governor Tony Evers to County Line, along with the Germantown Village president. During their visit, they had the opportunity to observe their literacy instructions and actions and see the meaningful work their staff and students are doing every single day. It was a proud moment to showcase the impact of their teaching and the strength of our social community. As they head into the final days of school, they're proud of all we've accomplished together during this year and excited to finish strong. MacArthur kicked off May with a fantastic Scholar Talent Show featuring a range of performances from singing and magic to gymnastics and music. All participants were celebrated for creativity and confidence. They also held their annual fun run filled with obstacle courses, slides, and sensory stations. Thanks to the incredible PTA and community, over $44,000 were raised to support student resources and field trips for grades 3 to 5. Our K through 5 students are currently taking MAP tests in reading and math. We're proud of their growth. They're ending the year with gratitude and excitement. Moving on to Rockfield, the character trait emphasized this month was creativity, encouraging students to use their imagination and create something new or solve their problems. Rockfield would also like to give a heartfelt thank you to Mr. Joshi, owner of University Mobile and Main Street Mobile, for his generous donation towards purchasing a new kiln for the art room. There are many fun events going on at Rockfield as the year winds down, such as their annual Spring Recess Marathon and our Raise Craze Reward Day, where students will be able to have fun with our inflatable park and Kona ice trucks. From Kennedy, happy May from KMS. We're enjoying the beautiful Wisconsin spring and recently celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week. Our dedicated educators go above and beyond daily, and we're so grateful for their hard work and passion. A big thank you to our amazing KMS PTA for supporting and celebrating our staff. We just wrapped up MAP testing in reading and math. These results help guide our teaching and measure the students' growth. As the year winds down, they're looking forward to many celebrations and field trips, while also staying focused on learning and building strong work habits. Finally, Germantown. Testing season has wrapped up at GHS. Thank you to all of our staff for preparing students for these assessments as they provide valuable data points for us to assess our instruction. Additionally, thank you to our student services team for 2 weeks of AP tests. We are all prepared for a bittersweet goodbye to the class of 2025. While we are excited for all the great things they have ahead of them and are grateful for their contributing to the Germantown High School community, we will miss the daily interactions and leadership they have brought to the school. We are excited for one final celebration of them at graduation, June 8th. Planning is underway for next year, and we are excited for a more positive change at GHS to benefit our students. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item C, Smart Team Presentation, GHS students.
Try it. Click. Yeah. Melissa, click it right there. Yeah. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Lucy Schmitz, and I'm proud to represent the GHS Smart Team tonight. I'm currently a junior at Germantown High School, and at the beginning of my sophomore year, a few of my peers and I found this club to create a space where students interested in molecular biology could try and be in an element. Smart Teams, short for Students Modeling a Research Topic, is a program run by 3D Molecular Designs in Milwaukee. It provides high school students with the opportunity to explore science in a hands-on, research-focused environment. This was our first year as a team, and we dove into researching penicillin-binding protein number 4, a key player in antibiotic resistance in hospital settings. We had the incredible opportunity to collaborate with Maya Blau, an MD, PhD student at the Medical College of Wisconsin. Together, we interpreted complex scientific literature and research methods, skills typically reserved for college-level courses, all while balancing extracurriculars and AP courses. The journey wasn't always smooth. We had to learn how to read and write scientifically, manage conflicting schedules, and even figure out how to use new software to build a 3D model of the protein. But through persistence and teamwork, we accomplished something truly meaningful. As president and co-founder of the SMART team, I've been inspired by watching our research come to life, and even more so by seeing my peers' dedication in advancing their understanding of science. I'm excited for what's ahead and incredibly proud of what we built together this year.
So I'm Michelle Griffin-Wenzel, and I was their advisor this year. And today they got the opportunity to go to 3D Molecular Designs, which is the company that I've been working for the last 13 years, doing lots of professional development opportunities using models in my classroom. 3D Molecular Designs printed our poster for us and made our model, and we'll be bringing those around here shortly. But I just want to talk about the connection that we made with our researcher, Maya Blau. We also went to her lab today to tour it at the medical college. And Maya was a former Smart Team student in Longmont, Colorado. Her first year was 2014-2015, and her Smart Team advisor was Chris True. And Chris and I ironically met back in 2014 at 3DMD, where we did a workshop together. So I had no idea who Maya was until I got connected with her, and the students were like, yes, we love her, let's work with her. And then put 2 and 2 together that Chris Chow was her advisor. On top of that, one of our former students, Michaela Hensgen, who just graduated from MSOE this past Saturday, was studying under Maya Blau at her lab. And so Michaela, who I taught for 3 years here, along with her sister and her brother, came back and got to talk to my students. And so there's that real true Germantown connection we found. So.
Good evening. My name is Francine Boer, and I'm a current junior at Germantown High School, as well as one of the co-founders of Smart Teams. And then I'm just going to give you a brief overview of our protein. So as Lucy mentioned before, we were researching penicillin binding protein 4, and it plays a pivotal role in synthesis of bacteria's cell walls, rendering it an essential target to the treatment of bacterial infections. So in the framework of overall hospital-acquired infections, penicillin protein binding 4 facilitates antibiotic resistance by mediating the resistance to antibiotics such as penicillin. A comprehensive understanding of PBP4's function and its contributions to resistance pathways is instrumental in the development of more effective therapeutic strategies to target this inhibitor protein. By focusing on PBP4, healthcare providers can enhance patient outcomes by creating new effective methods of preventing hospital-acquired infections and overall increasing patient longevity. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Madison Medichewski, and I'm a current junior at Germantown, and I worked on the modeling side of our research. I will talk about the modeling process and why we designed it the way we did. Our model of PBP4 was created through the use of the program JMOL, which allows us to upload a file of the protein and break it down from there. An interesting thing about our model is that this is not even the whole protein. This is half of the protein because it would be a lot to model the whole thing. The missing portion is the anchor or the transmembrane domain. We used JMOL to simplify the protein from the spiraling folded up protein to the clean model we have here. Even the coloring was deliberate to represent certain areas of the protein. The red is the non-penicillin binding domain, the blue is the pedestal domain, yellow is the transpeptidase domain, and green is the serine active site where the binding happens. Our modeling of the protein is extremely important to the understanding of the functions and why it evolved the way it did. Being able to visualize the protein and what it looks like allows us to look into the structure and be able to communicate the story of the protein and why it is important.
So now I'm going to recap what exactly we did at the conference, because we presented at the ASB&B conference in Chicago at McCormick Place, which is a really huge convention center. And we presented as one of only 16 smart teams across the whole nation and Canada. So that was a cool experience. And it was also extremely impressive that we are in our first year as a smart team, and it's really rare for a smart team of our age to actually go and present at the conference. And we presented our protein model and our research as well as our poster at the place, and we presented it to various teachers, professors, and other students from other SMART teams, rotating every 45 minutes between each of us about our protein, its significance, why did the research, and other stuff like that. Then after we finished presenting, we went around and viewed research from other SMART teams, and this was really cool as we got to network with them and make new connections. And we also got to view research from prestigious universities such as Harvard Medical School, Yale, Purdue, Georgetown, Cornell, and many others. So this is a really cool experience as we got to see what college senior level research is like and get a view at to see as if, is this what we want to do when we grow up as well, right? And then,
And our mentors, teacher is in the far right picture with that burgundy colored shirt on. That's Chris Chu. So she flew in with her SMART team from Colorado. And so it was pretty amazing to see the thing full circle.
then afterwards, we had a really cool opportunity to go to the ASB&B Expo, where we got to meet a lot of businesses in the biomolecular industry that do various things, such as producing high-tech lab equipment. And so we got to meet, discuss with them, learn about what they do, how they do it, and this also gave us insight into future career opportunities, and this was a really cool opportunity for all of us.
Throughout our time in SMART teams, we made many memories, and so I'll be discussing some of them. One of our favorite memories was seeing Mrs. GW being able to parallel park in downtown Chicago in one attempt. And furthermore, knowing that there are very few SMART teams that made it as far as we did, made it a huge accomplishment, and so the fact that we're able to present as a first-year SMART team, which is very rare, made us all feel really proud. During the conference, we were able to meet and trade information with other SMART teams that are interested in biochemistry, and so we're able to discuss our interests and other research opportunities that we like to learn about. Also, going to a restaurant after the conference was a good way to de-stress, and it was a good way for us to have fun, and so it was one of our favorite memories.
So at the conference, we got to view posters from other prestigious universities, giving us an insight on the broader world of biomedical research. After the conference, the team had the opportunity to tour 3D molecular design and the Medical College of Wisconsin, where our mentor Maya works. It was really cool to see her work environment and to learn more about the research that takes place there. Throughout the experience, we learned a lot about biochemistry and real-world health issues, like hospital-acquired infections, opening our eyes to the complexity of the medical field. For many of us, this SMART team journey sparked an interest in biomedical engineering and inspires many of us Germantown kids to take more advanced science courses.
Okay, so where do we go from here? As we reflect from what we worked well and what we identified areas for growth, we're excited to keep building on this foundation. We plan to hold an informational meeting to welcome new members for the 2025 to 2026 school year, and especially encourage freshmen in biology who are interested in healthcare or biomedical science to join us. We are also looking forward to continuing our collaboration with Maya Blau on a new protein project. To support our work, we would hope to fundraise by 3D printing items to sell and design a very own SMART Team t-shirt. One of our biggest goals for next year is to present at the 2026 ASB&B conference in Washington, D.C., a chance to share our passion and research on a national stage. The future of our SMART team is bright, and I can't wait to see how far we'll go. Thank you.
Just before you leave.
Yeah, questions for us at all?
Does anyone have questions? Like this.
Yeah, I'm just curious. So this binding protein number 4, I take it that it's a good thing and you want more of it to make penicillin work better?
So essentially it's a good thing, but with mutations within the bacterial cell wall of the protein, it can cause for hospital-acquired infections to get worse, essentially. So researching this protein and the mutations within it can help us research new ways to create synthetic penicillin to help treat hospital-acquired infections.
Okay, and through all your studies, did the concept of being allergic to penicillin come up? You talk about that at all?
Well, with what we are researching, we didn't really touch on that because we're focusing on people who can take penicillin and how they are affected by it.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, I get it. Any other questions?
Not a question, just more of a statement. First off, congratulations.
Thank you.
We get to see our athletes and our sports teams and their accomplishments on the field. So for you to come here and share this with us is phenomenal. For us to be able to see what you were doing down in Chicago and excelling as a young team and going to grow that team, that's phenomenal for us to be able to see that. That's the opportunities this board's trying to give as much as possible when teachers come forward with, and groups of students come forward, right? Because it's a student-led scenario. Hey, we'd like to do this. Can you help us provide that opportunity? And when we get to see this, it's just great feedback for us to know we made the right decision, investing in this time and effort. And congratulations. Really rock stars for you guys.
Thank you. That means a lot.
And I'll just end on this note that I was really just the supervisor in this whole ordeal. I mean, I gave them the tools that they needed and they ran with it. And I am incredibly proud of what not only the 6 behind me did, but there were a few others that weren't able to go to the conference or come tonight. And the fact that we were able to present, or they were able to present at the conference in their first year was absolutely remarkable. And I'm just so incredibly proud of this group. Thank you.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Yep. Thank you.
We will move on. Village of Richfield topped that, but you're up D, Village of Richfield TID presentation. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, we have John Cameron here from Ellers tonight, who's going to speak to the Richfield TID project and expansion. So, John, let me know if I have the right slides up or if I need
Yep,
to
that's perfect.
move anywhere else.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I'm John Cameron. I'm a senior municipal advisor with Ellers, and I'll start by saying this is it's a tough act to follow from the last agenda item, but I'll do my best. So the Village of Richfield is requesting to amend an existing tax incremental finance district that was created in March of 2021. And the map that you have on screen in the hashed area shows the original boundary of the tax incremental finance district. This is an industrial park right along Highway 41 with Pioneer Road to the north and Mayfield Road to the west. The district the village is looking to amend the district for the purpose of attracting and retaining economic development, primarily for a project that is deemed Project Eagle. It really involves the assembly of a number of parcels on the west side of the district boundary. Those parcels have been combined into one, and then working with the developer of that site for the removal of Venture Circle, which would be done through pay-as-you-go financing. The district itself, in terms of the amendment, is looking to undertake approximately $1.4 million in additional project costs that would be through pay-as-you-go type financing to help with the removal of Venture Circle, and is anticipating new taxable value to the tune of $11.29 million. The district is projected to pay for the project expenses from the original district boundary as well as this amendment within 17 of its allowable 20 years, or by the year 2039. That is actually, with this development, an improvement over the boundary schedule that showed the last TID annual report, which showed the district running out its full 20-year lifespan. So a little bit of an improvement by adding this development and this amendment. That's a high-level overview of the project plan. I know the village administrator did provide a letter to your packet asking for the board's approval in this matter. And I'm happy to answer any questions on the district.
Any questions? Mr. Lowe?
Yeah, in the upper left-hand corner here, so the northwest corner, are those individual lots for homes?
They, not for homes, they were individual lots. There is a residential structure that's out of the TID boundary on the very top corner along Pioneer Road, or Pioneer Road. That's out of the TID boundary, but these other parcels have now been combined into a single parcel in anticipation of this Project Eagle coming in.
Oh, okay, so the way it's presented here, they may be.
The way it's presented on this current map is as it was as of January 1st. If you look at the next page in the project plan, you can see how it is currently. Oop, one back. There you go. Yep, you can see that it's now combined.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Excuse me, I'll ask real basic questions here. What was the perceived problem or concern that you're presenting a solution to?
The purpose of tax incremental financing is to attract and retain economic development. In this case, the developer of this site has an extraordinary cost relative to the removal of Venture Circle. That's necessitating the use of tax incremental finance dollars, and those dollars will come in as the site develops. It will generate increased taxable revenue. That increased taxable revenue will remain with the district and be used to pay for the removal of that cost.
So Venture Circle, which is the road that you're removing, was that not put into this business park initially? It wasn't an existing road before it became a business park.
I'm not sure how long ago the road was put in.
Do you know how long Enterprise as a business park has been up there?
I do not.
Okay, I think it's been since about 2009. I thought the road was put in to spur development at that point.
The developer of this site has indicated that the assembly of this land and the removal of that road is essential to allowing this development to occur.
And is there development specific, or just saying we now want a plan where we can offer this plot of land?
It's development specific. There's a specific company that's looking at this project, or looking at this site.
Is that Quest?
No, Quest is in that hashed area. So Quest was the original, drove the original creation of this tax incremental finance district.
Okay. So with that being said, and with the solution to the problem of Venture Circle being in there, short term, what's the cost to the school district revenues? 1 year out, 2 years out?
Nothing. There's no impact on your school district revenues as a result of this.
So if a building comes in there, as you implied that there's somebody interested in the spot, and it's in a TID, and it looks like you said there'd be a improvement of 11.29 million?
Correct.
That would then be excluded from taxing revenues, would it not?
It would, but without the removal of that site and without the use of tax incremental financing, that 11.29 million would not occur.
That's always kind of the back and forth, and if we don't do this, this won't come along. So when Enterprise Park, Business Park was developed, I'm sure the pitch was, we'll develop this and you'll collect taxes on it. And here we are 10 so many years later, and it's just not happening. Good for Richfield that they now have somebody interested in that spot. But from the school district, I don't see this as, I don't know if a road really counts as blighted property. It's not brownfield.
It's not a blighted tax incremental finance district, it's an industrial district.
So it's improvement.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, you can do TIDs and TIFs if you're improving the infrastructure.
You can do TIFs and TIFs for a number of different projects. This is an industrial district. It was approved in 2021 as an industrial district. It's remaining an industrial district. It's not a blighted district.
Right. So you improved the property by 11.29 million. And I hear what you're saying is, by that coming in, that's going to increase the tax base.
Correct?
Had the industrial park just been successful and sold off the lots as we saw in that first slide, this would be a moot point.
I didn't catch that.
In the very first slide where you showed where it was all sectioned off, that was the original plan for Enterprise Park.
Yes.
So had the park developed the way they had intended to, we'd be collecting taxes on all those businesses.
That's a fair statement.
But because for some reason Richfield or the industrial park was unable to do that, we're now putting it in a TID to remove the road to get the 11.29 million
Correct.
in there. Now with that, you say that there won't be an impact on school revenues because you kind of, it's funny when government puts money towards a project that say 3% a year and then they cut it back to 2%, they say, well, it's a decrease. And other people go, no, we're still spending 2% above and beyond. So this is a case where we're improving a lot and adding to the base of 11.29 million, but the school's not going to see that revenue for possibly 17 years. Whereas if the developer or the business itself removes that road and they like Richfield that much that they bring the business there, we get the tax, or the Richfield and the school district get the tax on that amount. I'm not against.
I'm not sure that
I'm
there's a
not
question
against
there,
teaching.
but I'm happy to address it. I mean, what I can tell you is that in addition to the village working on this project, Washington County Economic Development Corporation has been extremely involved with this site and specifically bringing this development into the village of Richfield. So this is just beyond the village in terms of kind of a team effort in making this site happen. Beyond that, I think what you've made is a statement. I don't know if there's a question for me, but I'm happy to address if there is.
Well, I guess the statement that you can address for me maybe is, I guess I'm a little disappointed that here we are all these years down the road. A beautiful piece of land that should be developed, and it sounds with the removal of that road, it will be developed. I just wish the original plans had gone through and we'd all be happier without having to do incremental financing. So we're giving benefits again to a corporation, and I'm all for it, I'm all for growth, as long as it does not impact the school's revenues. And to your point, it does not impact school revenues. However, if that land had been developed without a TID or TIF financing, we would be receiving that tax revenue.
I don't have a further comment on that.
As Ehlers, the Village of Richfield is your client.
Correct.
Okay, they came to you and scoped out work for you guys to do, and that's what you're doing. Have you worked with municipalities in the past that have said, make sure that the school is made whole on this or participates in the revenues? Has Ehlers ever done projects like that?
I don't understand the question.
Well, a municipality will come to you and say, how do we finance this? How do we develop it out? And in some TIDs and TIF districts, the school districts in general, I'll say, do not receive the benefit up front or for the first couple of years of the increase in revenues because that portion is excluded from the taxing base going forward until the life of the TID is over. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when you do these developments with TID or TIF financing, have municipalities ever said, hey, don't leave the school hanging out of these revenues that are going to be generated? And how do we make the school district whole on them?
No.
You've never done that?
No.
Ehlers has never, okay.
No.
Is that a scenario that's never been done because it's never been done before, or because it's not a scenario that actually can play?
It's not a scenario that exists under tax incremental finance law.
Mr. Brown?
No, I'm good.
Any further? Well, actually, this will be a new business item later on in the agenda. It's just here in reports. Appreciate the village sending Ehlers here for that. Is there any other questions from the board while they are here? Obviously, I'm sure we'll have some more discussion when the topic comes up as new business for decision, possible action. In this scenario, Dr. Reuter is the representative on the JRB.
John, when is the JRB next meeting? I don't remember offhand.
June 5th.
June 5th. So you'll have to let me know. That's part of action tonight, the decision of the board on yes or no vote.
Sure. I'm sure your colleagues at Ellers probably made you aware that the board is, in general, with the village of Germantown, heavily involved in TID discussion and understanding these processes as we try to manage our finances and try to ensure we aren't over-taxizing the constituents of the village, the constituents of the school district in this scenario, I should say. That's the approach we're taking from it. That's why we ask a bunch of questions. We're not TID and TIF experts by any means, but we're learning exponentially as they continue to kind of come at us.
Sure.
I appreciate that this is growth for growth's sake of, commercial's not the right word, but it's non-residential. I can tell you this board would probably have a strong objection if there's residential in there. We don't view that as an appropriate use of TID, and that's because it compounds our finance issues with students moving into those residents and into our district and not receiving the appropriate financing that would help support their education. This scenario doesn't present that. Obviously, it's manufactured, light industrial, whatever we want to call it. So I can appreciate that. I appreciate you answering the questions. I know you have a lot of them here, so.
Sure. Nope. Happy to answer any other questions or provide education on the appropriate use of tax incremental financing.
Any further? Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Item E, committee appointment. I'm going to back out here. This is going to be me. This is our committee appointments. As we go through the year, we had a reorganizational meeting last month, and that brings in, for this month, our committee appointments. Many of these are decided based off of the voting of the reorganization meeting, and then as far as chairs go, and we can discuss that quickly. If anyone has discussion, obviously we've all seen this. Buildings and Grounds Committee, Chairperson Tracy Pollock. We're going to welcome new board member Jeff Voyer to that, and Michael Loth. And right now it says Meg Cutts is there. This will be updated. I was informed by the village. They will be sending us, this is village trustee representative. Meg Cutts is taking a leadership role on some more committees for them. And unfortunately, although I loved her insight, we're going to lose her here, but we are going to be joined by Christine Borst, new trustee member. The added advantage in that is finance background, and there's going to be many financial questions being asked for that committee. So we'll love to have that insight, as well as she has children within the school, I believe within the district. So we're excited to have that. Hopefully that brings some enthusiasm to the projects that are going to be coming forward there. We'll get that changed. I believe they're voting on that tonight as a village board. So that should come forward as a change. Finance, as treasurer, Michael Loth chairs that. Tom Barney will remain, and Eric Brown will remain intact on that committee, so no changes to that committee. Negotiations committee, we are going to have a little bit of a change here. So myself, as president, will chair it. Our vice president, who chairs personnel, it's important that he's involved in those conversations. So Eric Brown will be coming along. I continued to serve there, and we will welcome new member Jeff Voyer to the process. I believe we have a meeting tomorrow night in regards to that. So we'll welcome Jeff into that conversation, and he'll be brought up to speed as best we can. Personnel committee, as I said, the vice president serves as the chair of that, so Eric Brown, Tracy Pollock, and Kim Higginbotham. I believe there's no changes there. We'll keep that committee intact. They've been doing a lot of work between different compensation studies. Some of that work is just finally coming to fruition this evening through finance, but it's important we keep that team together as they understand some of those studies that are being done that impact our employees and some of the changes that have gone there. Policy committee, that is our board clerk, Don Barney, will continue to chair that as policy dictates. Eric Brown and Kim Higginbotham will be on there, and we believe that that connection between personnel and policy committee really really helps to have that core team involved in that discussion on both sides. So having Mr. Brown and Ms. Higginbotham join Mr. Barney there, I think that helps those conversations. Teaching and learning, Kim Higginbotham's done a fantastic job on that, and I look forward to her continued work as chairing that. Jeff Boyer will step into the vacant seat there, as he's indicated some strong interest in understanding more of the work that's being done, and we will continue to have Tracy Pollock serve as continue for continuity's sake as that committee moves forward through more curriculum approvals, designs, studies, whatever we want to call it, reviews. We'll continue that work. Liaisons here, CISA 1. Tracy Pollock has, I believe that was a vote as part of the reorganization. He is going to continue to serve there. That's as the delegate. Tracy, are you still on the board with that?
So my term with the board actually ends this year, so.
Okay. But you'll still remain as the delegate for us. We have some liaison positions. I want to get back to that. So legislative liaison, Tom Barney has served in that for many years. He's going to continue to serve in that. He joins myself, Dr. Reuter, in several discussions over the last year with some of our elected officials at the state level, and continues to be a strong voice and advocate for the school district needs and those avenues and relationships. He's a wonderful conduit for that. Our MATC representative is Eric Brown. He's served in that previously and is going to continue. Technology is Tom Barney. Mr. Barney, if he was here, would have loved some of that finance discussion. WASB delegate, Ms. Higginbotham, is going to, I think, continue on with that for now. So then we have some crossovers. So like I said, we had Trustee Borst is going to join us in Buildings and Grounds. We have a couple other crossovers. For a long time now, we've had representative in Parks and Recs. I believe that is tied hand in hand with our Buildings and Grounds Committee. So Tracy Pollock is there. Mr. Pollock is going to continue to serve in that regard. We have a marketing communications, and we actually discussed some of that, and I saw him taking vigorous notes. So we welcome Jeff Boyer and his efforts there. He's going to work directly with Dr. Reuter on improving our ability to market and communicate out. So I'm looking forward to some of the changes that come into that realm. Village, continuing on with the Village Economic Development Commission, Ms. Higginbotham was asked by the chair of that commission to join. We appreciate her work there as that continues to keep this board informed of village decisions. And I will continue to be serving as Planning Commission liaison, just as the sitting president. I think it was in those two positions, three positions, I think it's really important considering they're direct to the village of Germantown, that the Germantown residents fill those seats, just because it affects specific to what the village actions are. And we have multiple members that are not, I think we're down to one, right? Just you? You're the lone wolf?
I think so.
Richfield, right?
I think so.
But anyways, just as a community members, I think that helps cement those relationships. The update there for myself on Planning Commission is I will now be a voting member with the leadership change in the village. So we'll see some more of those topics come to discussion, and I'll represent the board as best I can in the school's interest with guidance from fellow board members and the administration. Any questions on assignments? We can move on from that then. Village of Germantown liaison reports. Speaking of three of those people, Mr. Powell.
Yes, so since our last board meeting, I don't have an update. We actually have a meeting this Wednesday at 5:30 at Village Hall for the Park and Rec Commission. One, kind of to add on a little bit to what Mr. Ewert had mentioned, my role on, well, really it's the school district representative role on that commission is actually within village code. So that's why we have representation there as a full voting member. Because I'd gotten a couple questions last time during my update mentioning make sure your dog's on a leash, which really has nothing to do with the school district. However, for those in the know, the village currently does not record those meetings. And so if they make any changes to record those meetings, until then, I plan on providing all of the information that was discussed at those meetings. So keep your dogs on a leash.
We appreciate that. Just one question, is any further conversation taking place in regards to the possible land swaps?
So that, I believe, is going to be on the agenda for this Wednesday. At least some initial discussions, because it's President Soderberg wants the commission to discuss, review the information, and ultimately have their input as it goes through the process.
My understanding is that's an involvement of Blackstone and the village doing a land swap of sorts, kind of for some usable parklands that the courts currently owns, for some buildable lands, more extensive buildable lands, that enterprise would own for potential development, whether it's housing, commercial, whatever the discussions would lead to.
Yeah, there's quite a substantial amount of land that ultimately would fall within the Park and Rec area at the village.
I think that's an interesting proposal. I mean, we'll see what comes from it. It's interesting from the entertainment side for Parks and Recs. For us, it's the important is keeping a pulse of if there's residential and what type of residential that could potentially impact the district, and more so from a planning standpoint, not any other standpoint for us. So thank you for keeping us updated on that. Ms. Higginbotham.
Yeah, we also I do not have an update since last time, but I am very excited to be working with Bob, new president there, and I think it would be beneficial at some point to have both the Planning and the Economic Development Commission to get together and kind of start to have like the vision that we see for the future, you know, and kind of collaborate on that instead of having the two separate doing their own thing. I think at some point we should work together to kind of work on that vision.
Absolutely. Anything further? We were holding our meeting at the same time as the last Planning Commission meeting, and I apologize, the meeting before that I was extremely ill. That was my first meeting I have not been able to attend. Kind of disappointing. What I can tell you is I've watched both of those, and I see there's a new intent from leadership, specifically about what Ms. Higginbotham just mentioned. Let's get those committees together and working and pulling in a coordinated effort and make sure the right committee's doing the right work. So I'm excited to see that play out. Like I said in my assignment update, I will now be a voting member of that commission. So I look forward to not only providing district input, but also being able to vote with that. In the future, shortly, hopefully, the next month, Dr. Reuter and I will be in the hot seat in front of that committee, presenting some enrollment study information, some facilities use study to help guide understanding on the village's behalf of what development and what areas will impact us and how, and what those financial impacts could mean, and what we may have to ask of our constituents as a financial means. But these are not next year conversations. These are conversations starting this year that are going to guide us into the next 5, 10, 15 years as that development comes. But if we're not involved in on the ground floor, we're not going to be involved in them. And we appreciate that the new leadership of the village is a little more open-armed with this conversation and partnership.
Yeah. Not the hot seat, the right seat.
Right seat. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a great way to, we'll go with that, the right seat. I'll write that down. I don't have anything further with that, just as I didn't attend it, the meeting. I don't want to speak too much more about the discussions that were there. So we can move on to item 5, citizen comment. I have one. I'll give the cliff notes. We just ask that it be held to 3 minutes and not directed at any particular person in the room. Daniel Fidel, sorry. And I believe it's on school district decision to bus private school pupils. I'm sorry, I can't read my handwriting. My apologies. You'll explain to us what you're going to talk to us about. Go ahead.
I'm Dan Fidel, address W175 North 10, 300 Stone Ridge Drive, Germantown, Wisconsin. So I'm seeking clarification pertaining to the school district's obligation to provide transportation to students attending private schools. And I'll paraphrase Wisconsin State Statute 121.50 for Part 2, Part B, Part 1. The school board shall provide transportation to and from the school a pupil attends for each pupil residing in the school district who attends blah, 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 a private school located 2 miles or more from the pupil's residence, if such private school is a school whose attendance area the pupil resides and is situated within the school district or not more than 5 miles beyond the boundaries of the school district, measured along the usually traveled route. So my question, the only one that I really noticed was odd, I guess, and don't know if this area has changed for the Catholic schools since 2003. But St. Francis Borgia is 6.4 miles from any corner of our district. And I'm just curious if they are still deemed part of or allowed to get busing to St. Francis Borgia. If anything, would think that St. Boniface would be able to get that area. Not that I'm for either school, I'm actually for the public schools. But when it came to the discussion of busing and having staggered times, just made me look at the maps and seeing what's going on there. So I don't know how much the board has access to as far as the busing companies, as far as a 2-mile exclusion zone, which is the same as our public schools, as well as addressing if St. Francis Borgia is allowed or not allowed based on the state statutes.
So you're saying there's 6.5 miles?
6.4.
6.4 miles? Okay. We can't engage in a back and forth, and I'd love to, if I could factually answer it, I would, the best of my abilities right now. It wouldn't matter if both those districts were there, Boniface or that, they would both be eligible for the busing, is my understanding. But that's a mileage issue, and we have 2 people behind you that may be able to answer that. Not right now, but definitely connect, and we can discuss that. Mr. Pollock, if we can bring that into our busing. We have an ad hoc committee. Obviously, that's where this conversation came from. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
And I just recommend looking at the April 21st Transportation Committee background. It outlines the 9 private schools that we currently transport to within state statute.
St. Boniface is one of the 9. So
Correct.
Yeah, that was
Ms. Altendorf behind you, if you want to chat with her after, she's happy to probably email you or connect with you.
Yeah, that would be she'll get you the information. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 5, consent agenda. A, approval of April 28th, 2025 meeting minutes. B, approval of May 5th, 2025 meeting minutes, open session only for closed session. C, approval of teacher contracts. D, approval of donations. And before I finish this, if someone would gladly motion D be polled, I think we have a presentation that's going to attend. Mr. Reuter, is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda 5, excluding D.
I'd recommend them all.
Right, what's that?
Recommend them all. and then
Recommend.
Oh,
we'll
recommend,
comment.
oh, got it,
D for
okay.
discussion. Sorry.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the consent agenda.
A second.
Mr. Brown with the motion, Ms. Higginbotham with the second. We are now open for discussion, and I think we're going to discuss approval of donations. And we have a bunch of guests with us. Thank you for coming.
Hi, this is our 21 fifth graders that helped to raise money for the God of All.
Just can we come to the mic so we can? You can pull that up. Ma'am, you can pull the mic, there you go, sorry.
So they just wanted to be here for all the donation was being.
Oh,
Okay, Mr. Ryder will help us with that.
I would love to. I'll start with that one. It's my understanding County Line fifth grade parents and students, which we have right here this evening, raised $1,033.50 as a class gift to repair the County Line Gaga ball pit. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is our group of professional Gaga ball players?
No.
How did you guys raise the money?
They made it a competition. Yeah, and they put like posters and everything. And they brought us with Archie. Yeah,
Nice.
from Archie.
Archie is just
Outstanding.
wonderful.
Archie's a money pit. Yeah, very well. That's awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for raising over $1,000 to help your school for future kids as well. Are you guys all in fifth grade?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're doing this for future County Line students. Thank you so much.
Absolutely fantastic. Let's give a round of applause. Thank you for coming. Your parents obviously should be proud. Parents, thank you for the work that you put in, because we know it doesn't happen in isolation. Staff, I'm sure PTA was involved in there somewhere, right? Fantastic community group there, working better to better the school. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Well done. We have a few other donations. We had an anonymous donor of $500 to the Germantown High School robotics team. Also, County Line PTA, $1,843.22 for County Line school field trips. I'm guessing it's part of Upham Woods, where all these fifth graders are going to go, or have gone. Randy and Sue Hollister donated 2 sugar maple trees to Rockfield Elementary to honor our 2 retirees there, Ms. Niehaus and Ms. Knezevich, as they retire at the conclusion of our school year.
Fantastic, as usual. A plethora.
Always, right?
It's amazing.
And it's cool to see the kids here tonight and how they're paying it forward, even though they probably won't play Gaga ball there, but they're leaving it for future generations. So thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, consent agenda passes. We are going to move on to item 4, Teaching and Learning Committee, May 5th, 2025 committee. I'm sorry, Ms. Higginbotham.
Okay, do an abridged version. We have a lot on the agenda tonight, so I encourage you to watch the actual video from May 5th if you have any questions. So the Teaching and Learning Committee did meet on May 5th, 2025. Jake Miziak gave an update on the curriculum review efforts that they've been doing during the 24-25 school year. It's a structured process designed to evaluate our current curriculum to ensure we align with state standards while providing for the best outcomes of our students. The review seeks to answer the following: what are the established goals outlined by UBD? Are we meeting those goals, and what adjustments do we need to make? By continuing to assess the strengths and weaknesses in our curriculum, the district continues to look for opportunities of improvement in order to meet the needs and further the development of our students. So I do encourage you to watch this, the video. Jay kind of pertained this to our current social studies review. So there's a lot of information there. Please watch. And then this will lead us to our next 3 items on the agenda as we look to approve new textbooks and 1 digital resource for 3 of our AP classes. These are due to the requirement that we provide current college level resources that have been published within the last 10 years. They're assessed on their alignment with AP learning outcomes in order for our AP students to prepare for the AP exam for the associated course. And just a note, the advanced placement courses set the course learning outcomes. They are not internally dictated. So I would like to thank Jake, Brian Mosey, Wes Hoops, Jamie and Canestra for all of their work and time and effort put into coming up with and going through these books for choosing the best one for our students. So with that, I'm going to start with item B, and motion with a positive recommendation from the Teaching and Learning Committee to approve the adoption and purchase of a Chemistry A Molecular Approach 6th edition by Nivaldo J. Tro for use in AP Chemistry.
That comes forward. The positive recommendation does not require a second. Any discussion? I was at that meeting. There was plenty of discussion on it. I would recommend, if you have any questions, that is the resource, just for efficiency's sake here. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
And item C, this is for our AP Physics resource. So a motion with positive recommendation from the Teaching and Learning Committee to approve the adoption and purchase of Physics AP Edition for scientists and engineers, a strategic approach by Randall D. Knight for use in the AP Physics.
Coming forward, the positive recommendation, once again, does not require a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
And finally, item D, we'll move on to the AP Stats resource. This one is a digital resource. Motion with a positive recommendation from the Teaching and Learning Committee to approve the adoption and purchase of Modeling the World AP Edition Plus My Math Lab for School with Pearson's eText.
That comes forward with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Anything further from teaching and learning?
Nope, that's it.
Fair enough. And my mistake, I think I misspoke and said 4, it's obviously item 6. Get my V's and I's right, the wrong side there. Item 7, Finance Committee, which we had this evening. Mr. Lowe.
Yes, the Finance Committee met earlier this evening here at the Performing Arts Center at 6:15 p.m. All the board members that are currently here were here for finance. I appreciate that. And so I will give the Cliff's Notes version here. And we'll go through this quickly, but know that everyone was here and heard all the material firsthand. As far as the public is concerned, the Finance Committee meeting video will be available in the next day or so, I believe. So we start off. Full board item 7A, consent and review of vouchers. We approved vouchers for this last month. Next item is full board item 7B, other post-employment benefit, OPEB, trust creation. So this is something that's been in the coming for quite a while, and we went through all the legal that we were presented, and I call it lawyer legal. I won't repeat any of it here. We bring a motion to approve with a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee to the full board for the creation and funding of a trust and the appointment of trustees to hold funds segregated for the payment of all or a portion of the district's post-employment benefit plan obligations. With the amendment of page 2 of 3, remove the word her.
It comes forward with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Is this resolution authorizing the adoption of the new OPEB trust agreement part of that resolution, or that, just the whereas? That's the official.
There were let me look at the first page of that. Yeah, there's 3 sheets to it, and that's what it is. It's the resolution authorizing the adoption of a new OPEB trust agreement, which is everything. It's everything, including the creation of Fund 73.
Okay. That comes forward with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any discussion? My question was answered there, so we are approving this resolution to create this fund. This is something that started in a compensation study formatting, as well as a need for the district to better manage some of these funds and respect our staff in retirement, I think that was the basis of the conversation that played over, I think, a couple of years at this point now. But I'm glad we're finally getting it to fruition here, cementing into this resolution and document. So, no further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
Okay, full board item 7C, Kennedy Middle School cafeteria tables. Motion to bring forward to the Board of Education with a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee to approve the purchase for Kennedy Middle School cafeteria tables as presented and described using Henriksen to not exceed $75,396.20.
Comes forward with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
Full board item 7D, as in David, 2025-2026 CISA 1 contract. Motion to bring to the full board with a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee the CISA 1 contract for the 2025-2026 school year not to exceed $125,000 and funded out of the flow-through special education budget.
Comes forward with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Any discussion?
I think the only thing I'll mention, Russ, is that this can be amended throughout the school year if needs change, and since students sometimes change over the course of the school year, that is very likely to happen.
Yeah, I think we've seen this a couple of times
Yes.
in recent board meetings, and I'm sure we will. As IEPs change, to your point, student needs change, we'll always ensure it's financed to provide the services needed. So thank you for highlighting that as well, because I think some people, it helps understand it's a flexible each time it does come to the board, though. So that comes forward with, that was discussion there. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes.
Okay, full board item 7E, copy center device replacement. This is for a new copy machine, which will be installed in August of this summer. So that puts us into the next budgeting year. Motion to bring forward to the Board of Education with a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee to purchase the second and final Konica 2100 for $34,347.15.
Comes forward with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Any discussion? I think I mentioned this in the meeting. I appreciated the detail that actually went into that. Mike, I'm sure you appreciated the photos that were included to understand what we were purchasing.
I did. They were very similar to what we received for the first one that we approved.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
Okay, next item was full board item 7F, 2025-2026 laptop refresh, lease refresh. Bring forward to the Board of Education with a positive recommendation to purchase laptops from SHI and finance the lease purchase through a 5-year lease agreement with the First American in the amount not to exceed $423,719.85 with an annual P&I payment of $84,743.97 as presented, and charge the appropriate capitalization and lease accounts in the general fund.
Going forward with the positive recommendation does not require a second. Any discussion?
I guess I should mention these are laptops to replace for GSD's staff laptops. And I believe the district office also, right?
No,
not
just school staff.
Just GSD. Okay,
Sorry about that.
that's it.
We got new ones
Comes forward with positive recommendation. We had that discussion. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes.
Okay, next item is full board item 7G, 2025-2026 Chromebooks lease refresh. These are for students. Bring forward to the Board of Education with a positive recommendation to lease purchase Chromebooks from BDJ Tech and finance the lease purchase through a 4-year lease agreement with First American in the amount not to exceed $195,055.40 with an annual P&I payment of $48,763.85 as presented, and charge the appropriate capitalization and lease accounts in the general fund.
Comes forward with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
And full board item 7H, 2025-2026 FortiGate firewall refresh. Our old firewall will not be serviceable after December of 2026, I believe was the year. That's the year. Motion to bring forward to the Board of Education with a positive recommendation from the Finance Committee to purchase the replacement firewall and installation services not to exceed $39,620.
Comes forward with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, it's a security issue for all of the school's data, so it's time for an upgrade.
I agree. I'd just like to, I think he's left now, but he's done a great job of bringing these items forward, vetting the information, the needs versus the wants in the scenarios, and ensuring.
Proactive.
Proactively.
Right, we're not waiting until
Yeah.
December to fix this.
So to me, that's a breath of fresh air out of that department.
Great.
Really working with Brittany on that. He's spending a lot of the money, but it seems to be good investment, so I appreciate that.
Brittany knows he's spending a lot of the money.
She lets us know. And any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes.
And the Finance Committee adjourned at 7:06 p.m. That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 8, new business. 8A, discussion and action to approve the voting status of the Village of Richfield Tax Increment District TID proposal. This is to give Dr. Reuter guidance at their joint review board. We had Ellers come and present on this during reports. That was as a courtesy, just not to have him wait around to this item. So I appreciate everyone's flexibility and this kind of being broken up. It probably would have made more sense to have it as one, but we can understand their high demand there. So we've heard from Ellers on why Richfield would like to do this. I'm just going to open do this. I'll ask for a motion, and then we can open it up for discussion. Any motion?
I'll make a motion that the recommendation will be based, no, wait a second, where am I?
Be based on voting status.
We're gonna do, okay, recommendation will be based on Board of Education discussion for the voting status?
Yeah, you'd have to make a motion for yes or no vote for the continuation of the TID.
Oh, okay, I'll make a motion for the yes or no vote on the continuation of the Village of Richfield Tax Incremental District proposal TID.
Second.
Wait, is the motion to vote yes or to vote no?
Oh.
You have to choose.
You can't make a motion to vote in the negative, so it has to be to vote yes, and if we vote it down, then you would know to vote no.
Understand.
And if we pass it, you would know to
The
vote
motion
yes.
has said yes or no. So
Okay,
that's why I'm asking for clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll make a motion to vote yes to the Village of Richfield's TID proposal.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Brown with the motion, Mr. Pollack with the second. We will open this up for discussion, obviously with the understanding we have to make it in the affirmative. So we're opening this up for discussion. I will call for a roll call vote on this to be consistent with all other TID votes that have taken place over the last couple of years. So, Mr. Pollack, be ready for that. Any discussion?
I'll bring up just a discussion point. I do kind of wish John was still here. We don't need to get in a back and forth, but this is a Village of Richfield development. Good for the Village of Richfield that they found somebody to, develop this land. However, by doing it through the financing that Ehlers is proposing, it takes $11.29 million out of the tax base for 17 years. That tax base goes to the school district also, which isn't limited to the people of Richfield. It affects the people in Jackson, all of Germantown, and all the municipalities within Richfield, which is Colgate, Hubertus, Polk, and I don't like the trend that I'm seeing in groups like Ehlers since about 2014 have been kind of perfecting this pitch book to go to municipalities and say, we got a rock-solid way to approach a government and put this back on the backs of the taxpayers. And from what I heard John say from Ehlers was that the property in question really doesn't need improvement or development. There isn't anything wrong with it other than, for some reason, the Village of Richfield has been unable to develop that land. The back and forth that John and I had, I get his point of view, but my point of view is if they did develop that land, whether it was 3 years ago, 1 year ago, or next year, we as a school district would be part of the $11.29 million that we'd be taxing on. So why a school district that serves several different communities has to take another hit to our revenue when we run on a very thin, budget and revenue source as it is. It's almost like a race to the bottom. They've come up with this formula to put development of perfectly good land on the backs of the taxpayer. And they can say, well, future growth, and I do get that. I'm a business major. All my minors were in real estate. I get it, but back in the 80s when I went through UWM and went through the real estate classes, TIDS and TIFs were really focused on either entertainment districts that are going to attract business to the area in development, or to fix up blighted property that sits on the municipality's books, and unless it's fixed up, is a dead asset to the municipality. So it's a way of paying it forward, fixing up the property to get that piece of land in the tax revenue. The piece of land they're talking about, I know very well. I live less than a mile from it. It's beautiful land. The problem that I heard John saying is the people that are interested in this land, there's a road going through it. Okay. Well, what is it, 1.4 million, did you say the project cost was? Is that to remove the road? I think the developer can pay that. Somebody should be able to develop it. And I get John saying, we at Ehlers have not worked, or we haven't done a study like that. But there are places where the developer in goodwill says, you know what, we realize that this should be going towards the revenue base, towards the school district, which, as we've talked about with Germantown, the school district is a very key element to the communities. If you tank a school district, future development's gone anyway. And I just don't like the taxpayers and the students and the people of the Germantown School District always taking a hit to revenue so someone can move in and build a building. And I'm not against future growth. I'm all for it. But to make other taxpayers accountable to it, and it just gets old.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments, and I think I agree with most or many of them. And definitely the thought in and of itself. It is a trend. It does continue to get concerning as we continue to see them. In this scenario, there's a TID there. The initial plan didn't work. They had multiple lots. They couldn't get it done. So to repurpose it to ensure the financial viability of the TID, and that's going to be an educated guess here for me, is this new plan. is that predatory of the corporation that wants to come in there and knows they can leverage this deal, and really it's at the burden of the taxpayer? Yeah, and is that good business practice on their end? Sure, right, for their financial liability. I can understand that. However, to your point, it's the taxpayer that continues to take the hit from that scenario. And in this one, while it doesn't provide residents, and we continue to gather in whatever taxes are coming from there, as it sits right now, right? What we don't get is that 11 million. And people misunderstand, we don't get the 11 million. What we do is we get to defer that 11 million in the funding formula out over that homeowner and that homeowner and all these, right? And all their taxes go down. Once that 11 million comes in, all of that comes down. And that's where it affects the resident. It doesn't get to come down, and if there's needs from this district, that property isn't going to contribute for 17 years on that. So look at our current referendum is, depending on your household, I'll use a number. If your tax bill shows a $500, right, addition for that, that could be less if this property was paying its $11 million. And that's what we're trying to get the community to understand. So it doesn't matter if there's students there or not, although the impact doubles us when there's residential housing, and we can get into that in a different discussion. But that's how it affects us. And that's how it affects everyone in here that owns property and is paying. And to your point, good for Richfield. This doesn't do anything for Jackson, doesn't do anything for Germantown, doesn't do anything for Polk, doesn't do anything for the town of Germantown, right? And that's the concern of this board. If we would vote yes on this, and we'll find out what that is, we're agreeing to defer easement of taxation of those people to help Richfield. Now, Richfield very well may get this passed regardless of if we condone that action or not. We'll find out on that. But that's how I look at it. I don't know if we have any further conversation from the rest of the board. Obviously, we'll always engage in that. So if anyone has, I do see the one positive I saw in this, it mentioned was the TID as it sits would go for the full duration of the TID, theoretically. They don't know that. That's a speculation. It's good speculation. And that's how the entire TID system is built on.
Right.
We think.
The fear, if this doesn't happen, then this won't come.
With this approval, it would get it down to 17 years. So if we're managing a TID and we're trying to get all of the funds of that TID to the school district as possible, then I'm caught in a catch-22 of can we manage it to shorten that window of an existing TID, which is a different conversation completely from creating a new TID. That's a different discussion. But understand that as taxpayers, that's how it's affecting you yearly, daily, monthly. And it does it to cross villages. We're just a district that handles many villages, many townships, and this impacts. Benefits don't impact everybody, but some of the negatives do. So.
Yep, and like I said, it's an open discussion. I'm not taking one side or the other. The way these keep getting presented and brought up by saying, oh, it's no cost or it doesn't affect you, it does. And in this case, we sit on this stage as representatives of the school district. And the viability and the solvency of the school district is the paramount objective here. And if we keep cutting out revenue, it's going to come to roost eventually. Now, you had said that, this is a Richfield project and it doesn't benefit Germantown or Jackson and such. Well, anytime you do a TID, part of the hope is there's spillover.
Yeah.
So people that come, there's restaurants in the area that are going to benefit from this. So I'm all in favor of development and moving forward. But this one just kind of gets me with the simple road that, we're cutting $11.29 million for 17 years out of the funding revenue for a road.
Yeah, they don't need the approval of this to change that plot to one plot.
No, I get it.
7 or 8.
I just want people to better understand, how we are looking out for the school district, not our own personal best interests.
I think that's.
Just every time that there's a project groups like this come in, and like I said, they have a playbook written out that they approach municipalities and go, here's what you say, here's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And take a look at all the TIDs and the millions of dollars that are being removed for so many years out of our tax base. We need it. As a school district, we need it. And to your point, luckily, it's not a housing project, because that's an extra burden on us then. So I do get it, but somebody's got to start pushing back to this constant flow of, you want to build, go to the taxpayers.
Mr. Powell?
I would just add, when it comes to these type of TIDs where it involves commercial, industrial, blighted land, I tend to take an initial lenient, or at least more lenient position at the start to see, okay, what are they doing, what do they want to do, how can it improve, knowing that there's the chance that we run into situations where we're leaving a lot of money out there for potentially a long time. And I got stuck on what's been brought up. The fact that it seems to be, and maybe I missed something along the lines, but it seems to be hung up on this road. And that's kind of where I get stuck, is if that wasn't a central piece to the why behind it, I may take a different approach to it. But to your point, President Ewart, they could make this change without going down this process and widen that area to, I forget exactly what the acreage is now, but I think it was 10 acres and substantially bigger area. It just, we know what we know now with what the goal is, but we don't know how else we're impacted with additional development here. So, yeah, like I said, I try to take a more lenient starting view on these type of projects, because there can be a outsized benefit to the community, but it's certainly compared to anything that involves housing as far as leniency is concerned. So it's my 2 cents.
Any further? Mr. Lowe?
Anyone know why this has come to us so late? We need to make a decision this evening. I would have liked to have researched it a little more, what's going on.
They reached out to me to discuss this and put together a GRB group. So as soon as, given our board schedule, I could get a representative here for the, I believe, June 5th vote.
Okay.
And I think in the past, we have not engaged with Richfield like we have with the village, so I thought it was pertinent with talking with Mr. Ewart to make sure that there was a presentation similar to how we've had with the village.
Okay. I'd like to point out that Germantown TIDs don't necessarily do any good for Richfield either, the same as was mentioned for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone know why the lots that were subdivided never sold and left this road that they don't want now?
No, other than they used a TID to create the road that they're going to use the TID to demolish the road for.
Well, I'll take speculation on that.
Are you sure on that? Because I think the original TID was just that small center spot in the middle of all of this.
And I apologize if I'm wrong, but I think the road infrastructure was part of all of that. Because you can use X mileage outside of a TID to build infrastructure that will help improve the internal TID, which we saw in, I believe, TID, 8 or 9, up by Holy Hill Road, the manufacturing that's going in up there, warehousing.
So were those lots for homes part of the original TID, you think? I do not recall this TID coming before this board.
Neither do I, and this is specifically why I said this better come before the board, because this happened in 2021, so I don't know.
That would be different administration.
Yeah, who participated in the joint review, yeah, that's
why it's here. That's why it's here this evening.
Yeah, it's very, very odd. I mean, I may have missed a meeting, which would be rare, but I do not recall this at all, anything out of Richfield. So since there are no homes involved in it, I was inclined to vote yes, but my fellow board members have done such a good job. They've made the case to vote no, and so I think I know what I'm going to do.
I guess in that, just in regards to that, I'm making a case in general on the entire process. I'm actually torn between this, because if we can get this TID closed sooner, is that 17 years from now instead of the full 20, whatever I believe it was, I think that's prudent for the district, and I think we had a yes vote, or sorry, that was a no vote in this type of a scenario with internal to the village. The last time around, they were looking to amend a TID.
Well, the village center, we voted no. But the previous one, we voted yes.
Yeah, one before that, which was the Holy Hill area.
And that was a yes.
Was it Holy Hill, or
I believe so.
was it
No, that was a
Donges
no.
Bay?
That was a no.
I think it was Donges Bay.
Bio, yeah, that was a yes.
Yeah,
Yes, Donges Bay, Sterling Pharmaceuticals, yes.
Sterling
Yeah,
Farm.
you're correct.
There was some.
Yes, but the previous Holy Hill, you're right, Mr. Ewert.
But that's because, and I think my vote in that scenario was a no, while they were going to close that TID earlier than required. It was actually bumping that date out. While it's still closed before mandatory date, it put that vote for the Holy Hill area, put that TID closure out past the original closure date, so it kicked the can down the road. This one will actually bring the can a little closer to this. So I'm not advocating one way or the other. I just understand I'm not really coming at, I am torn on whether this should, financially, I have an issue with the TID process. Quite frankly, I have an issue with some of the tone we heard from Ellers when questioned on this, like it's their right not to have to explain that, and that's, I'm sorry, we're representing this community and this school district, and we have the right to ask these questions, and we should be, and if we're not, we probably shouldn't be up here. So when they take a tone, and I've seen this multiple times, whether it's from Ellers or other proposals in regards to this, I take issue with that. They're getting paid a service to recommend a process for a community, and they need to defend or explain why another taxing authority should take deferment at really our own peril, while this really does help the village of Richfield. But it does temporarily cause us some financial issues. And that's not wrong to ask them for explanation of that. When there's a tone to that, I do take an issue to it.
That's fair.
Right or wrong, that's my belief. You're asking us to defer $11 million, or the potential of $11 million, that's, I don't know, I took great thought in spending $100 and some thousand on a few items tonight. So hopefully we're taking more consideration over $11 million. This scenario would close it, according to them, projection, if the development comes to fruition, 17 years. Versus what they were projecting as a full run of the TID, which is significant. I think it's 27 total years. So I don't know where they're at in that timeline, but.
Yeah, so the quandary I'm in, I want to be a good neighbor.
Did you just join me in my quandary here of
No.
close it earlier, or?
Maybe. The quandary I'm in, I want to be a good neighbor to the village board in Richfield, but I'm tired of TIDs in Germantown, and of course I'm tired of TIDs everywhere. So I'm not too sure on this one.
Here's where I struggled, because Russ is right. The idea that we can, in theory, knock off a number of years was focused on a road. There's at least a handful of other properties that would be in this amended TID that if development was brought in there as well, probably knocks a heck of a lot more years off of this. And so I think that's where my struggle was. Their focus was on this one particular piece, this one particular property, company. They lumped a lot of other stuff in, but to me, they fell short on the argument. Because in my mind, the argument is, hey, we have someone for this area. We got to knock out this road or do whatever they have to do to that particular piece. And if we're able to do this, we have a better chance of drawing people in on these other properties as well, which theoretically we don't have anybody on in the plan, but in theory could also benefit the TID and shorten that time frame. I think that's where their argument fell short for me, is they focused on this one piece, and it's good. And Mr. Loth is right. The bottom line is we need to try where we can to be friendly with our communities. I just think they took the wrong approach and fell short in their argument for the amendment as far as all of the area that's now, or that would be contained within the amended TID.
And I'll ask the board's input on this, because maybe I'm looking at this first map wrong. If you pull it up, it says current boundaries of TID number 1. And right now, to me, it looks like that's only Quest Engineering in the light blue with the stripes through it.
Yep.
Is that our understanding that that's the
Yes.
TID that's in force right now? Yep. Okay. So with that TID, once that was approved, which obviously was approved, the tax revenues froze at that point.
You're discussing the light blue with the stripes in the center.
Correct.
Yep.
That's the TID. Now they're talking about the property to the upper left, which would be the northwest corner, but the dark blue line says proposed boundary.
Yep.
So is the TID that we're talking about voting in the positive for tonight saying, you can go back to that one, saying that we are now going to not just talk about that property with the drive going through it in the upper left, but that whole dark blue outline?
Yes.
Because I'll tell you, there's businesses in there that if they get put into the TID, at that point, we do not participate in those revenues also.
So what happens in that scenario is, so we have the light blue, that's where the TID is now.
Yep.
The dark blue outline, everything that falls into that, their taxation freezes. And we keep everything as it is right now. That continues to flow to us.
Okay, and just
But-
pause right there.
Yep.
Because this is what I was trying to get through to John. What is the opportunity cost? What's the future value? I live right down the road, and I'll tell you, I've been there 15 years, and my taxes are a lot higher than they were when I moved there.
Correct.
So for the next 17 years, why are we capping our revenue stream on all these other businesses that are already there?
Correct. And to that exact, and that was the next point I was going to
I
make.
mean, this isn't just about that one company wanting that upper left-hand corner that we talked so much about, to Mr. Pollock's point, and to which I was saying for $1.4 million, had the developer do it.
Yeah, so we have, looking at this map, I'm seeing 2 buildings, 2 developed buildings. Scroll down a little, Mr. Reuter. 3, 4, 5. So there's 5, from what I can see from this distance, that taxation freezes as soon as this goes into effect.
For 17 years.
For projected 17 years, right?
Right.
It could be longer if they're wrong, and it could be shorter if they're smarter than we think. So, to your point, now we would be deferring just the ancillary growth of those current developments, right? That's what you're driving at. So whatever the taxation is plus inflate, whatever, right? Taxes generally don't go down, is what you're doing.
It's an overcomplicated solution to a very simple problem.
It'd be one thing if they might have just drawn that upper left corner in as a solution to fix whatever mess they have going on there.
Yep.
But they added, and we see this with TIDs, this land grab almost, to bring everything else in. And I'll be honest, and we never get this answer from them, and we haven't gotten it through Germantown, and maybe we will now. Is that TID only gonna be financially successful if they bring in the equalization of those other current businesses right on top of the spur of this new development? Or is it a failing TID, and we were wrong in the first place for ever approving it?
Village of Richfield needs to do a better job of go get yourself a marketing department and sing the laurels of why people should be developing in Richfield. We moved to Richfield to be in the Germantown School District. There's reasons to move to Richfield. To be capping all this revenue and including all these other buildings that, you know, over time are going to go up, I don't get it. The other thing I don't get is, I hope, and I wish John was still here to correct me if I have this information wrong, but taxes on the incremental growth go exclusively to the TID. That's not a big industrial park. I walk my dogs through there, it's in good shape. They're gonna get all that revenue growth, and it has to be spent exclusively in that TID.
To remove a road?
Well, no, for the next 17 years, it gets spent in that TID.
I understand that.
Could have marble roads in there. It's an overcomplicated solution to, I'm not even sure it's a problem.
Well, and also
But
just.
if somebody wanted to buy it and they said, hey, if we can get the municipality and the taxpayers to pay for the removal of this road, let's do it. That's a Richfield thing. This is now expanding to our school district. And, you know, we've got expenses to pay, we've got lights to turn on, we've got teachers to pay, we've got staff to pay. We can't keep just saying, yep, let's cap our revenue again for the hope of growth.
I think and I understand what you're saying, I'm not trying to cut you off. I would denote too, he brought up WEDA, which is the Washington County.
Economic development.
Yeah. I've seen them present, and they generally have the same response in attitude and tone as he did with why are you questioning us, and that's why he threw it in our face, basically, that Washington County wants this. Well, good for Washington County, then let Washington County pay for it as a whole. No, you're gonna put this on the burden of Richfield and the Germantown School District. Of course Washington County wants it. 98% of Washington County doesn't have to afford it, right? I mean, and we just putting some money into it. If they're involved, and a little bit more in-depth presentation may have brought this to light. We saw them with what was the Donjas Bay? Sterling Pharmaceutical. They were the one propping up the money to front that agreement for Sterling Pharma to help bring in the development, right?
Well,
That's the money they bring in. So there's some aspect at play with that we haven't been presented.
It's not the money they bring in, it's the money they make. The representative from Washington County Economic Development Committee, I believe his name is Christian, was at the Germantown Village meeting, and he flat out said, Sterling Pharmaceutical, boy, we'll write this loan any day. They're not in any financial hardship.
Correct.
We're making $500 million off this loan.
Correct.
Yeah, if you take a look at
my point is,
their books, they didn't
he
need the
didn't,
financing.
he stated they're involved in this. That's the type of involvement they have, but then he didn't present on that information. What is their involvement? What is the county's involvement? And that's an issue that I also take in that scenario. And maybe Richfield or Washington County would like to come and explain that to us as far as that goes, because if they're involved, it's a loan, it's money, there's some involved, right?
Yep.
That we saw with the Sterling Pharma.
And I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on this, but if we all look at that map, initially my understanding was, you know, when I first sat down and listened to John speak, that we would be capping the revenue off of whatever company that is that wants that upper left-hand corner. Then sitting here looking at the boundaries of it, I'm under the belief it's going to be capping all of it.
Well, and according to
for a road that they put in.
According to the village administrator's letter as well that was included as part of our packet, he notes the 11.29 million in new land and improvements from, I believe it's the upper left.
Yep.
But he's also mentioned, additionally, the village has 2 businesses already under construction in the park, which will help accelerate the closure of the district. I don't recall it being brought up either. Like, to me, it's one of those.
So it's
where-
development that's already occurring within that isn't within it, but will be
But
now.
would be, right.
So it's imminent taxation, we could take advantage of, help our taxpayers,
Right.
Yeah, Actually,
burden them, and we're not even gonna get to see that.
that lot in the upper right-hand corner ending
Yep.
8016, there's a building under construction right now there. So now that'll be capped too.
Okay, well, we weren't gonna get into the weeds, but we got into the weeds. Any further discussion?
I'll say one thing. I think just from listening to John at Ehlers, this almost to me feels like a Trojan horse TID to fix a failed TID. That's what I took away. And it doesn't make sense to me. I'm not getting the full picture. And zooming in, I'm seeing 6 businesses, and you said, what, 2 were going up now? So a total of 8? So we're freezing 8 for a road? I don't see it personally.
And somebody made the point, how did we get to this point? Why do we always turn to TIDS for financing? It's been a slow progression over the last, I'd say since 2014, that, boy, if you don't keep up with the Joneses, the community next door, they're gonna take all the business and all the development's gonna be there, i.e. Germantown. Richfield sits next to Germantown. There's now an agreement to put sewer and water under the freeway and start developing the lower part of kind of this business park that you see. But there's just this money grab. And, yeah, I want to be a part of it. I want the growth, but somebody's got to stand up and say, enough to these developers and these planners. The ruse is over.
Well, I think there's arguments to be made. I just think they didn't make them here.
No.
Yeah, it's specifically in this scenario, I would agree. Any further discussion? Hearing none, take a roll call vote. Mr. Pollock, could you help us with that? Remember, a no vote.
Do we want to restate the motion so that everyone's aware?
Yes, if I can.
Do you want me to restate it
Yes,
for you?
Melissa, could you read it?
The motion is to vote yes to the Village of Richfield's TID proposal.
Obviously, then a yes vote for you would have Dr. Reuter go with a positive recommendation. A no vote would send him with a no. Everyone clear on that?
Michael?
What happens, just want to clarify, what happens in a tie, since we have 6 board members here this evening?
It would fail.
Okay.
It would fail to be a positive recommendation. We ready? Ready.
Ewert,
No.
Brown,
No.
Loth,
No.
Pollack is a no. Higginbotham,
No.
Boyer,
No.
defeated
one.
7-0, or 6-0,
And one absent.
and 1 absent.
Okay. Simple item A there is out of the way. B, discussion and action to approve extended school year contracts. Ms. Katie Cole.
The following contracts are for extended school year, so just a very short background. Extended school year, there's criteria that any students with IEPs, we take a look at their IEP goals, and if they have any type of significant regression and in a significant amount of time for them to recoup skills over extended breaks like our winter break, our spring break, or over long weekends, the student might be eligible for extended school year. So IEP teams make those decisions regarding extended school year. So we do have some students that meet the criteria for extended school year, and the contracts included here are for those IEP extended school year instruction. It's based on the number of hours per that team decision, and it's listed here in the staff members that would be providing that instruction. Questions on that?
I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Get to questions. Go ahead.
Motion to approve the extended school year contracts for Michael Carrolls, Sarah Kendall, and Julie Boucher.
Second.
Mr. Voyer with the motion, Mr. Pollock with the second. For first discussion there, do we need to include the dollar amount in the motion?
I would say just not to exceed the presented dollar amount.
The 1,747.38, the total?
Yeah.
Do you see any potential change between now and the end of the year?
If there would be change, I would anticipate I'd come back with that. It would be another contract. It wouldn't be for these individuals.
Okay, so we'd hear it.
Yeah.
So as presented, in the motion. Do we need amendment then at that point? Yeah, we'll take an amendment, friendly amendment.
Jeff, I would just restate the recommendation and add not to exceed $1,747.38.
Okay. So motion to approve the extended school year contracts not to exceed $1,747.38 for Michael Carrolls, Sarah Kendall, and Julie Boucher.
And we'll take that as an amendment to the motion. That's how we would go with that.
Second.
Okay. So Mr. Voyer with the amendment, Mr. Pollock with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the amendment passes. We'll now have discussion on the amended motion as just read. Mr. Lowe?
Yeah, I'm just curious, is this, would this is for a few days or something and beyond the end of the school year?
Correct. So this would be over the summer months, and depending on what the student needs, it could be one time per week, or it could be over a course of 6 weeks spread out in the summer with the intent of keeping up on the skill or working on the skill that the student's shown regression on in the past.
Okay, so it could be all summer, you're saying?
Right. It just really depends on the skill and what will best benefit the student, and the team makes that decision.
Okay, that sounds very good, I would say. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. C, discussion and action to approve the 25-26 supplemental contracts. Ms. Katie Cole.
All right. The administration is recommending the approval of supplemental contracts that are listed. These are for our school social workers, our school psychologists, and then the counselors at the middle school and high school level. These are for activities that take place either before the school year begins, before teachers report back. Some of the things that they are needed to do are like the supply drive that we have for families, planning and administering professional development for staff. At the high school and middle school level with the counselors, there's scheduling and transition activities that take place for students in order to get the school year started that need to take place before they report in August. There are also some hours that are done after the school year is over. Most of those have to do with special education and just finalizing paperwork and things before we do our rollover. So those are the individuals that are listed. Their specifics, they do provide us, timesheets as they do those hours, but this is not to exceed specific number of hours.
I would just add that since we're still negotiating with the GEA, and all of the members on here are members of the GEA, that in the motion there is language that would state adjustment to salary based on 25-26 teacher pay increase. So Mrs. Cole wouldn't have to bring this back because the dollar amounts outlined are their per diem at a daily rate.
So you could go as presented with the contingency of...
Yeah, with the authority to adjust per 25-26 negotiated rate. Yeah.
Right now, as it's presented in the document, it's a bunch of not to exceed and then a specific dollar amount, which will change based off of contract negotiations. So it will increase, I should say.
Correct.
So to limit the motion to not exceed would cause an issue.
Correct. It would have to come back.
Does somebody have a handle on the motion?
Motion to approve the 2025-2026 supplemental teacher contracts as presented, subject to an adjustment per the 2025-2026 negotiated rate.
I'll second.
Mr. Pollak and Mr. Brown, Motion and second. Any further discussion? Excuse me a second. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. D, discussion and action to approve summer IEP diagnostic contracts. Ms. Katie Cole.
All right. So over the summer months, if any type of special education referral would come into our department, we have specific timelines that we have to adhere to based on federal law around the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So there's compliance regarding that. So with that, we would have to provide some of those evaluations, diagnostic assessments, potentially developing IEPs and having IEP meetings if they fall within those timelines over the summer. Some of those that we know will happen are students that are in the Birth to 3 program. As they age, as they turn 3, they could potentially be eligible for early childhood, and that's an evaluation through special education that we would have to perform. So we do know, based on those students that are in Birth to 3 and have birthdays over the summer, that we will have to do some of those evaluations and IEP activities. And then we just have a little bit, based on historical numbers, that we could get 1 or 2 evaluations on top of that. So that's what these contracts are based on. It's based on the estimated number of hours that is required to do all of the IEP evaluation, all the way through the meeting portion. And then if we don't need to do those activities, if those referrals don't come in, then they're not paid out. Obviously, this is all based on timesheets then and documented. So the required team members for an evaluation, we have listed here. We need a school psychologist, a speech pathologist, and then we have special education teachers that would be required for those evaluations.
We would need the same altered motion for this.
Mrs. Cole, are these all taking place post-July 1?
Not necessarily. I don't have those. I can verify that. I could verify that tomorrow, but like the Birth to 3 ones, it's when those students turn 3. So some are in process, for example.
So I guess this is a trickier one than the last one because the supplemental contracts are July 1 moving forward. So this would be a motion related to the dollar amount presented with the authority to change the dollar per diem amount based on the timeline. Unless you want us to bring another back in July 1.
Just motion can be based on active
contractual
agreement.
Yeah.
So that would
depending upon what fiscal year we're sitting in. Yeah, depending upon when negotiations.
We don't have to put a year, but we can just act. All right, thank you for that. Try not to have to repeat a topic at a meeting. I will hear a motion if somebody has that one dialed in.
Whoever was paying attention to that conversation. Mr. Pollack, it looks like you might have it. No.
I can make it if somebody else can't.
Yeah.
Is that appropriate?
I don't see why not.
Okay. Motion to approve the summer IEP diagnostic contracts as presented. Guess I lost it as I was saying it. Sorry. I will make a motion to approve the summer IEP diagnostic contracts based off the active contracted agreement with the employees.
Second.
We're in there?
Yep.
Second. I guess I had the motion, and I had Mr. Boyer with the second here. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. F, discussion and action to approve overnight travel. Did I miss E?
Board agenda.
Oh, I guess we can discuss that. Discussion and action to approve 25-26 Board of Education schedule. That's myself. When we discussed this last year, I would like to bring it back as proposed in this packet. I just want to scroll down and make sure you got it. To to adjust our meetings to Tuesday evenings, both committee and Board of Education meetings. A large reason for that is in the recent, prior to this, it just works better to allow community members to attend both the village if they would like, and our meetings. The village is mandatory to have theirs on a Monday, I believe, per state law. We are not held to that same, so we are flexible. The other is our commitment to the cross-board germination. We have 3 members, and we've either doubled meetings, had to miss meetings, and we'd like to eliminate that as much as possible. So it's twofold, threefold really. Here's the third issue. So we've moved meetings around recently. We're not deaf to the difficulties of community members trying to track that. Wholeheartedly, it's not to hide or obstruct anyone's ability to understand what's going on or actions this board's taking. It is simply to ensure the board's business and the school district's business is handled in a timely manner. And we're not obstructive to that while trying to cater to this commitment to the village. I ask for you to all weigh in on this. I'll be honest with you, realistically, to keep this partnership going in a manageable time and workload, I really see a need to have this be pushed to Tuesdays. It also really benefits the community. I've heard from many members. We're at the village. We hear what we're saying, and we do record and post all of our meetings. The village does not. And I think there's sometimes we'd like to see what Parks and Recs is saying. And we appreciate Tracy's ability to update us. But sometimes it's helpful to be able to see that real time. And there's other meetings that occur in that same manner. I'd ask you strongly to consider, for the good of the district, for the good of the community, that we realistically move this to Tuesday evenings, committees and board. The other denotion there is the vote is to set the Board of Education meetings. The committee meetings are adjusted as needed. So this vote isn't to set those committee meetings. They can get moved, and those were often the ones moving. We try not to, but it happens. Whether a topic comes up that we need to get an extra meeting in a month, or, hey, normally we'd have it at the first Tuesday, maybe we're gonna bump it to the second Tuesday because we just need that week of preparation. We just got the report back, whatever the scenario is. We gotta give the administration time to process the information and inform us to help us make the best decision possible for the community. That's as much as I guess I can say on that. I'm gonna put it into the board's hands. You understand what I'm asking of you. I understand it's a change from historic practice for this board. With that, before opening up for discussion, I think we have to take on a motion.
I'd like to make
Motion to approve the 2025-2026 board meeting schedule.
second.
Okay, Ms. Higginbotham with the motion, Mr. Pollack with the second. I said I would let you all talk and I would discuss this, and please do. I do want to add, Mr. Barney wasn't here. He reached out to me. He is able to make the Tuesday adjustment work during the school year. He has some commitments, he said, with no specificity as to what they are. In the summer, that could make it difficult. So I will share his thoughts for you to consider in your discussion. That I'll step back. Any discussion? Mr. Lowe?
Yeah, for me, I believe I sent an email. Sometimes I travel for work, and it's easy for me to ask the customer if I can travel on a Tuesday rather than a Monday. It leaves pretty much of the week left. In this case, asking to travel on a Wednesday might not work, to get the job completed in, what could be a 1 day of work, 2 days of travel, type call. So the board's not all about me. I'm fine with this. I think I can make it work, and to some extent I might be able to ask, hey, do you need me this week, or can we do it next week? Give that a try and try and make it work. I really don't travel that much, but when I do, it comes times at usually very short notice. And so we'll see how it goes. I think it'll be all right.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Any further discussion?
I'm fine with it.
I don't think I need a roll call vote on this, by any means. I just want to make sure everyone's voice is heard, so I'll go one more time for discussion on it. If none, we can move forward. No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Thank you. All right, F, discussion and action to approve overnight travel requests. Dr. Reuter.
Thank you. We have 2 overnight travel requests this evening. First, Destination Imagination students throughout GSD, 27 students and 18 managers to travel to Kansas City, Missouri from May 22nd through the 25th, I believe, for nationals. And then the Germantown High School Future Business Leaders of America, otherwise known as FBLA. 4 students and 1 advisor to travel to Anaheim, California, June 28th through July 3rd, and I also believe that's for nationals. So looking for overnight travel approval for those 2 groups.
I'll make a motion. Motion to approve the overnight travel requests for DI students throughout GSD and Germantown High School, FBLA students, advisors, and team managers.
I'll second.
Mr. Voyer with the motion, Mr. Brown with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Have fun on your trip. It looks like there was a lot of fundraising done. One of those, I think, registration was $22,000. I saw the note of no cost to school board or district students fund their own trip on that. So have fun on the trip. G, discussion and action to approve teacher retirement. Mr. Nowak.
Thank you. Barb Krupo, special education teacher at County Line Elementary School, is requesting that the board accept her decision to retire at the end of the 24-25 school year. She has served as a special education teacher at County Line Elementary School for the past 12 years. In addition, she also served as a special education aide at County Line Elementary School for 2 years and as a special education teacher at St. Emilian's in Milwaukee for 4 years. We ask that you approve the request for retirement at the conclusion of 24-25 school year for Barb Krupo. She's not eligible for the district retirement benefit. We ask that you thank her for her many years of service to our district.
I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the request for retirement at the conclusion of the 2024-25 school year for Barb Pupo, not eligible for district retirement benefit, and thank her for her many years of service to our district.
Second.
Second by them with the motion, Mr. Boyer with the second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
I would like to wish her, Barb Krupo, a happy, healthy, safe, and warm retirement.
Well said. I think anytime we can provide that to one of our staff members that provided our community this service, there's nothing but well wishes for them in retirement. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. Item 9, closed session. We should be reconvening out of closed here, just as a PSA there. Closed session, a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 119.85 sub 1 sub C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, performance evaluation data of any employee. In this particular case, it'll be A, district administrator evaluation and compensation 2526. 2 is 19.85 sub 1 sub D to consider strategy for crime detection and or prevention, A, school emergency management plans.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ewert.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Loth.
Yes.
Pollack is a yes. Higginbotham.
Yes.
Boyer.
Yes.
We will enter to close at 9:39 p.m. with the intent to return into open. Thank you for coming. If you are staying, you should be a little bit We'll reconvene back into open session here Monday, May 19th at 11:07 PM. I will entertain a motion around closed session, item A1, sub A, District Administrator Evaluation and Compensation 25-26 school year.
I'll make a motion to approve a $10,000 salary increase for the district administrator for the 2025-2026 school year.
I'll second.
Mr. Voyer with the motion, Mr. Brown with the second. Any discussion?
I would like to say congratulations, Dr. Ryder.
Thank you. I appreciate it and your support. Thank you very much. I'm honored.
It's absolutely well-deserved. It's reflective of your work daily. I think the community can see it with the amount of engagement you are outside of this building and outside of your work hours is an unbelievable. I think we couldn't ask for a better scenario in that regard, and many others, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. I will take one more motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Pollock with the motion, Ms. Higginbotham with the second. Or whichever way they'd like that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned at 11:09 p.m.